Hello there. In this video, I'm going to talk about how you would handle the properties files. So properties files are basically a simple text format that will have the values stored into key value pair. So if you watched my previous videos on collections and I mentioned the one on the hash map, so it basically has the same format as a hash map. So the main purpose is having the value stored into certain keys, and those keys is going to represent some values, and you want to retrieve those values to do some form of actions or some functions in your codes, right? Usually these are because these are very simple text format and it would be harder to maintain, so we don't want to have this form of file systems across the project, so we want to limit having such types of files. However, there are some instances like we want to use properties file for having our data. So one of the major example is and widely used is to have a properties files as a config. So if you have any test running, you want to have those tests with the preliminary environment setup, and those informations we want to keep it into the config.properties. Okay, so let's go started with that, and we're going to talk about how you can simplify your process. Okay, so first of all, this is my project, and this in my previous video I wrote this one, and then this is basically just initializing the browser. It launches me this URL, and if you see here, the URL is hard coded, and if you see here, let me put some line numbers here. So line numbers, okay, if you see the line number 13, I have this as a chrome path. Chrome path is basically hard coded. This is where I have this chrome driver.exe. I'm going to show you how you can simplify that as well. I have a driver.get. This has this URL which is hard coded, and these are like a generic example, right? So in future we might be launching into the application, logging into the URL. That login continuously changes. We may need to change those username and password informations, or we may want to get more values entered. We want to have these informations outside of the code line. Okay, that's why we need to handle such informations into file systems, so that you want to change anything, you don't come to the code base, instead you change that file, so it will get updated automatically. So you basically not touching the framework, you simply touch that file systems. So those file systems are examples of handling from the Excel file or handling from properties file. These are the major used components. So let's focus on properties file in this video. So this test, if I had to run this test, I have this test here. This method is where it had all of the steps to perform, right? So I have these things all test, and if you go to that browser, it doesn't look like it is doing more of the login or so. Right now all we see here is this URL is being hard coded, and I don't see other areas, but we're gonna show you some examples so that you can further leverage your test. Okay, simply this test right now, what it is doing is it is simply navigating to the register link. So that link is based on this link, which is the find by. So looks like it launches that application with that URL. Soon as it launches, it selects the drop down for URL, and then in the register link it just clicks the register link, and that's all it does, and it validates that after this is clicked, it is correctly navigated. So let's focus on that, and we're gonna further leverage this test. So this is my package. If I want to get such a file, I have two options. I can either create some folders, resources folder, and put that inside, or I'll just do it at the project level. So I'll select the project, new, instead of other, like just like you do other classes or package, but go all the way down. There's a file, okay, just blank file. So click there, and this file you can name however you want. This is simply file name. I would prefer, because it's more config related, so I'm going to name that as config dot. So the extension of properties file is properties, properties, okay. So that's the properties file, so that it is loaded there. And now soon as I did that, it is here, okay. It's inside the project at the tree level. So it looks nothing here. There's just simple text. So for example, if you want to get this URL not from there, you can just simply copy that piece here, okay, and I'll just write the key. So key will be unique, okay. Base URL, I'm going to URL equals, and that there's no double quote, no semicolon, nothing needed. It is simple text format, okay. Remember that, simple text format, no semicolon, nothing, okay. You just write your value. We need these things are part of the value, but we are not entering like this. It doesn't need those, okay. And then let's say, and you want to add more values, just do like that. So username equals, whatever username can be, right. Username is user123, for example. Password, you can continue to add. It could go all the way down as much as you have values. You don't worry on that. And then if you want to comment this out, so the pound key, let's say you don't want to run this here, you don't need to delete, simply comment. The comment shortcut is control and question mark, or you can just do this hash sign, pound sign, okay. So that will comment that out. So here if you see blue and black, so that means it's active data there, okay. So we configure the config file here. All we do now, we need to fetch this value, okay. We have a username and we have a password. Let's put the name all small letter. And then what I do now, I need to come here, I need to get that value here stored. Before doing that, because that is the data reader, I need to create one. I don't need to, I will just create one so that my package looks more organized. So I'm going to create one file reader package inside the main.java, okay. So my package name would be com.my. I'll just name it file readers. So it will just read those files. All my package will have all the file system classes. So I'm going to write this as a properties reader, okay. So it's going to contain only the property related file reader. So here, first thing what you want to do here is, first of all, give that path of this guy, okay. So when you copy this, right click, properties, and get this path, okay. Here you have the whole thing, you don't need that. All you need is that config.properties, the file and the extension, and I'll show you how you can do that. So first of all, I need to give that path. That path is not changing, so I'm going to give that as public static final string file path equals, okay. And then this one is dot. When you do this, you don't have to give that whole thing, right? You don't have to give on entire path. All you give is just dot and / you give config.properties, that is the file name, which this one is. So now it will look inside the project and it will find that. So you don't need to give entire thing, okay. And you never give your local file path, because this is further in your project. It will be logged into the version control, and somebody else is going to pull the codes. Those codes may not go correctly, so you just give in this format so that everybody can simply focus into the file, not your local file system. Okay, so I have this file path. We're gonna further reduce file path. Let me write properties file path, prop file path. Okay, so now next thing what I want is I need to read that file. Okay, so reading file is I'm going to write the public method, public static, right, string, um, read no get value. So let's write something that makes more sense. So here what you want to do here is, let me write that key, and then what you have to do here is, first thing is you open up the file equals new file, and give that file path. Okay, so that is the path. It is going to create an object for that path, for the new file on that path. And the next thing what you want to do is input stream. Okay, now you do file input stream, you get this guy. What's next? Now you have to do the properties. So you should remember these 3 lines of code by heart. So file comes with a file with IO. File input stream needs, let's put that exceptions, it won't let you go. I'm going to put the generic exception, so it will handle all different kinds. So what you have to do next is, let's see why this is not happy. Yeah, I need to get the return, we'll get that. So you have to remember this 3 piece first. Okay, file, give that file path, and once you get that object file, just pass that here. Next you do properties, prop equals new properties, we're just creating an object. And then what you do now, prop dot load, right, now input stream is FIS. Okay, so this guy, now your file is fully loaded, and now all you need is just read this property. So now let's say equals get property, and then key is, let's say your key is, that is your key from these config.properties. See, that's the one. So for example, if you want to get the username, you just copy that piece. So that key has to match, it's a case sensitive. So you say so if you give this, it is going to give you the value in return as this guy, user123. If you give this as a key, base URL, it will give you value as demo no commerce, the URL. Okay, so that's what you want to do. So just like you work with a hash map, right? So hash map dot so just like your map, right? Map dot get, and then you get the key, right? And that will give you the value of this guy, right? So just like that. So this one in the properties, you just do get property, and that get property of the key. The key is the same as config.properties. This is the key. Okay, so that's what you have to focus. And then next thing is you have get property. We don't need this whole thing here, we don't want to hard code. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to return the values so that this method can be used anywhere across the project to return. So what I'm trying to do here is return prop dot get property, and then I'll give that key whatever you passed. So this is now generic method. Okay, so this is the generic method that is now you can use from anywhere across the package. All you do is properties reader dot get value, get the string value, and this method is going to do all of the loading and reading piece for you. So now I make my life simple. I'm going to go here. I go to browser. Okay, in browser I don't need to get this hard-coded anymore. Let's comment that out or delete them. Driver.get. Now what I want to do here is, instead of URL, I get dot get value. Okay, so that is my key from property file. Now I'm sure it won't be happy. I'm going to get this. Okay, so now that will be happy. Okay, I don't need this URL anymore. I make my code clean. And one more thing, I don't need this piece also. I'm going to get this, make more beautiful. So let's put that here, something here. Okay, I also want to get this thing used much better way, so I get that final string. So this one changed. I'm going to put this file thing at the top of the class so that I can see, I can change them. These are not frequently used or modified, so I'm just giving that as a final string and put it inside the class label. But but the config files, these things are frequently changing. URL may not, but this username, password, there may be port address, all of the config related, or your domain, or such a things, you want to put that inside the config.properties file. So that's part of the framework design also, so you may want to be more careful and understand this, how this thing works. So now if you go here, in the test where I see the error, and I think what this is now. Okay, so let's see what this is here. Okay, I see what happened. So if you go here inside this method, we just throw the exception, and that method does not have the exception. So let's take that rule handled. I'm going to put that inside the method, and I'll handle that exception now with. Okay, so now this is happy. Okay, so let's go to quick recap. Okay, so I go to config.properties. I created this file just by right clicking here and then file as a new file, and then the extension is config.properties. Okay, so that is at the project level, and all I did here is basic code, such like equals with key and value, key value. Okay, and let's close that now. And I created one properties reader inside this file reader package that I created. So all the purpose of this class is to read whatever content from here, and I have a public getter method created, so that will handle whatever value I want to fetch from this file. Okay, so I don't have to write this always. I want to this method handle everything reading, so I just write at one area. Okay, otherwise I would have written this 4 lines of code every time I need to fetch the value from here. So that's why it's a public getter method. So there is a 4 lines of code. One is a file. Okay, file, I need to give the profile, this properties files location, and then I have to instantiate the file input stream. This is a file system, and then I will have to also instantiate properties class, and then what I have to do is prop.load. Okay, so this load is going to now load these features, and after it's loaded I can get the property with the get key, just like the hash maps get. Okay, and then this key is going to return me the value. So this key, what I'm trying to use here is, I don't want to hard code this key. I'm asking the user to give me that key, and I'll return the value based on that. So it will just return me the string here. Okay, and then next thing, let's go to home page. I don't think I have anything to do here with the properties. This is simple test, and if I go to test, I have had this driver outside. Now I'm putting this inside and it's part of the exception. And I have simple test, nothing changes here. And tomorrow if I need to put anything in this properties, I'll simply say properties reader dot get value and I'll give the key. Okay, for example, you want to read that value here, properties reader. Now this is used across entire project, so let's say I want to just print the value. Okay, for example, I need to read the value of that username. This username, if I want to read, let's see what it does. Okay, so let's run this test now. Run JUnit test. Okay, I want to launch the browser. I want to click that link and I want to have this method to run. Okay, it is initializing the browser. Okay, so the browser is launching. So look at the URL, where remember this URL is being coming from the properties file. If you see this URL that we haven't hard coded, that is part of the properties file. It read there and it is performing the test. Okay, and it clicked the register. Now we are in the register page. Okay, so looks like the test passed here. I did not trigger the after, otherwise it would have just closed the browser, because I want you to see this. Okay, so now let's go to this. Here if you see user 123 also being read from this part. So that's how you would read the properties file. So every time you want to fetch the value, just provide that key and it will help out for you. Okay, so this is how you would design the reading properties file at the framework level, when you design the framework. Okay, I hope this has been very helpful and I hope this helped you understanding how you would configure your properties reader file in order to design your framework. And thank you very much, and please continue to watch my video and subscribe my channel, and please hit that like button. Okay, thank you very much. We'll look forward on our next video.